Kerry, how's the economy going? 1.7% growth. Back in the black was Josh Frydenberg's statement today, which is a bit strange. It wasn't a budget update, but you can take that as my hot take on things. What did you think of the figures today?
Well, not being the economic expert like your previous guest, let me say that I think, look, at least it's encouraging that we haven't gone into recession. I think that's a good thing. I think it's encouraging in the most bizarre way that the rest of the world is having problems, which means that people are looking to Australia for commodities, which is always a good thing. So China continues to construct, and that's a good thing for us. So I note that, it is the mineral sector, that they continue to help us. I'd also say that there has been some mumbling and murmurings amongst the retail sector who do believe, I mean, if you listen to some of the commentary from them, they do believe people are holding back until this month, that they're waiting to see how much they can afford to spend on Christmas. And there are suggestions that this Christmas will be a bumper Christmas, mainly because people haven't been spending in the retail sector for the last several months, and they are going to dig deep at Christmas time. So, I'm encouraged that we are, even if it's only slowly moving forward, but we continue to grow.
Sounds like it'll be a good Christmas in the Chikarovsky household. It sounds like you're going to do your bit for the country and splash out. So relatives, if you're watching,
let me tell you, Tom, my children know that I do. And more importantly, my grandchildren now know that Gigi believes very strongly in good Christmases.
She just obeys the treasurer. What about the Banks household? Any relatives out there that should get excited?
Well, no, we tend to have a more sort of modest, but I guess more thoughtful line of gift giving in tradition with my household. I'll be spending it with the
charitable gifts.
I'll be spending it with the extended family. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be spending it with the extended family, and I think we'll have a great time. Look, the reality is that the government said last quarter that it was expecting the tax cuts to flow straight through into the consumer economy and start lifting economic growth. Well, this figure runs totally counter to that. We've seen basically people have, as Chris Richardson just said beforehand, they've stuck it in the trouser, or in this case, they've stuck it in the mortgage.
Still there though, isn't it? And that's important to know.
They can spend it at some point in future, and so that's good. But the government actually was out there very actively encouraging people to spend, and they chose not to. And usually when consumers choose to do that is because they're more worried about the future than hopeful about it. Now, whether that changes because of events, let's wait and see. But the reality is the export sector is doing reasonably well, not just mining, the education sector as well. But the domestic economy otherwise is basically flat as a tack.
Education you mentioned, I do want to get to that. What's going on here, Kerry Chikarovsky, with our it's incredible if you look at our 15-year-old cohort, down and down and down and down. I graduated in 2001, so maybe they were just coming up from that.
You were at the peak.
Me and my colleagues. But seriously, do we just need to really lift the lid here and think of all options? I don't know, a radical pay teachers more like Japan, digital devices, because they've only ramped up in that time. Are they to blame? Do we need to really get stuck into what's happening here?
Well, I think there's a couple of things we need to consider. First of all, that the world in which we're educating our children in now, and for which we will be educating them over the next, however many years, is very different to the world in which I grew up. We absolutely, when I grew up, it was reading, writing and arithmetic. They were the three basics that you needed to learn. And they are still the basics that kids need to learn, but they do actually need to understand how to operate in a technologically savvy world. And so I think we need to be taking that into account in terms of how we teach. I secondly think we need to be taking into account how we teach teachers. We need to be actually able to teach teachers so that they can cope with a very different sort of classroom. I mean, when I went into law, which is 100 years ago, teaching was not regarded as a second-rate profession. It was actually regarded as, equally important as lawyers. But we seem to have lost that expectation of our teachers. So we need to actually lift the standards of our teachers and our ability to teach them, to bring them back up to, I think would be, for them, a better professional standard and a better respect within the community. So I think that is a very big part of what we need to do. And look, the answer is never just throwing more money at it, because we've thrown billions of dollars at education, and this is the result we get. We need to be cleverer with our money, we need to be more focused with our money, and we need to be much clearer about what we need to be teaching children and how we need to be teaching teaching children, particularly for this new and emerging world in which they're living.
Yeah, look, you can go back to the 2014 budget and re-prosecute that, but right now, the schools are well funded. That's not the biggest issue
That's
we're
exactly
facing.
right.
Well, the problem is we actually had a series of reports, you know, the Gonski Report 1 and 2, and certainly Gonski 1 made a very important point that you need to give schools a minimum amount of resource to be able to teach properly, and it is the quality of the teachers at the end of the day that is the most profound change that you can make.
Because you can't do a cultural shift like that overnight,
in a student's life. No, but what the Gonski whole philosophy recognised, and it was using all of the best evidence from around the world about things that just actually work, not any kind of ideological approach to it, implementing policies that actually work. But to do that, you have to spend money. You have to spend it on improving the quality of your teachers,
but
providing
other countries are spending a lot less than us and getting the results. So it can't come back to money again.
The answer is many of them also spend a large amount of money, like Finland, for example, does. The real question, though, is you need the combination of those things. And in the Australian context, the Gonski report was very clear. Now, this was a bipartisan group of people with, you know, like Catherine Greiner from a Liberal Party background, recommending what needed to happen.
Okay.
What happened in 2013 and 2014, though, is this government said, we're going to give you the money, no strings attached. It ripped up the existing agreements that were there with state governments around Gonski. And what have been the consequences? We've gone backwards. Well, I don't think anyone should be surprised.
I'll have to end it there. Kerry Chikarovsky, Simon Banks, thank you. I'll see you before Christmas, but it sounds like...
And we want to know what you're getting for Christmas before Christmas, Tom. We want to know what your family does for Christmas as well.
I'll figure it out. Nothing like buying a goat for a family overseas for a charitable gift, I always say.